Lions TV, this is for the final time this season your post-match analysis video. We're looking back at Saturday's final day defeat against Burnley, which means that we didn't make the playoffs. However, it was a brilliant day and a valiant effort by Alex Neil and the troops. As always, let's kick off the show by taking a look at the 11 that the gaffer picked to start the match. Okay, so it was one change from the team that won last Saturday against Swansea at home, and that was Luke Cundle out and George Honeyman back in. And despite my criticisms of Honeyman all season, I felt that was the better option. I feel that Cundle does a very similar job to Honeyman, as in dog work, grafts, tries his best without a lot of end products, and I feel that Honeyman's got the more experience in football in general, plus within our team as well. And he does do that job okay. He isn't covered in glory and quality in the final third. However, he did set up Ivanovic's goal, which we'll get into shortly. First and foremost, look, people go, you've gone up there, and what a waste of time that was. For those people that say stuff like that don't really follow football, or they follow a team but they don't go to games, I actually feel sorry for them. I went up there expecting nothing, no pressure. We wasn't expected to make the playoffs, and I wasn't nervous or anything in the build-up to it, or even when I got there. I just wanted to go enjoy the day, give the troops a send-off that they deserved, and fair play, like I've said in other videos, that they took it to the final day, because it should have been long dead and buried by then. When Alex Neil come in and we lost to Gary Rowett's Oxford on New Year's Day, I think we was all considering that we could be looking at a relegation dogfight. Instead of that, Alex Neil's turned it round and showed on Saturday at Burnley and over the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks that we can compete in this division. And I felt it was a really, really even first half. Burnley had a big crowd behind them, and it filled up very late like it does at the Den. There wasn't a lot of people there until literally just before kickoff, but we come in our droves. Burnley, I've been there before in a midweek game when we lost 2-0 a couple of seasons ago, and it was a really good atmosphere that night, and I really take me off to their fans. Good ground, loved the ground as well, and I thought they made a brilliant atmosphere despite a little bit of misfortune and heartache for them at the end, which we'll get onto. But they got promoted, they got the job done. That's the real job at hand for them. So although they didn't win the title, I'm sure they'll be more than happy with Scott Parker's performance as a fan base, that they're back in the Premier League at the first time of asking. Before the game starts, Zian Fleming comes over to our fans. He looks a little bit reluctant, but he got the reception he deserved from our fans. You know, he wanted to go to another team because he wanted to go and play in the Premier League, and that's what he's achieved. So you can't knock him for that. But he come over a little bit sheepish, Fleming, didn't he? He started clapping our fans. Then he realised that, we was on board with it. He got the song, he got the Bermondsey Bergkamp, and he actually had a Millwall shirt which he threw into the fans. So fair play to Fleming for coming over. He didn't have to do that. He didn't get the chance, of course, to say goodbye to our fans when he left for Burnley back in the transfer window, whenever that was. But it's classic Millwall. Okay, you'll get similar to SA at Palace. Okay, you'll get dogs abuse, and then you'll get the reception at the end, which is what SA got. Of course, Fleming wasn't eligible to play against us, so he got the reception. He threw the shirt in. He got his songs, and after he fucks off, literally the second he turned him back, Millwall fans started chanting, "Fleming, you're a," which is, of course, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it is what it is. Okay, you played for us. There's a show of respect, but now that's done. It's fucking war. And do you know what? It was a war. It was a brilliant game. I thought the first half especially, we definitely went toe-to-toe with Burnley. I don't feel there was the better side in the first half, and what we're going to get into now probably shows that we should have gone in the lead at half-time. The game started, and we was intense, and we was on the front foot, and the only, I just paused then because I thought at the time, the only fear I did have, although I said I went up there fearless and not overly bothered, but, we wasn't expecting to be there, and I was just happy to be there and happy to have one last day before we have the fucking ridiculously long break now for the summer. I just felt that if we was going to take the lead in the game, it was something we needed to do to get in the playoffs, but then we needed to protect that lead, very well. And for the longer it goes on, the more chance you got and the more frustrated Burnley would get. But that didn't happen. The opening goal comes after, a little bit of goal mouth at either end, but nothing too major. I think they put a few across the box that just sort of went across the face of goal and went away from danger. But the first chance really is the goal for us. And it's a really good goal. It's a great ball from Saville over the top. Coburn runs into a space. I'm going to cover him in a minute, Coburn. I'll cover it after the miss. He does well. He sort of corrects something out of nothing with that good run into the channel. He holds up play well. Honeyman gets beyond him, which makes it very easy for Coburn to find him. It's one touch from Honeyman. And as I said earlier in the show, it's not brilliant in the final third. He doesn't cover himself in glory sometimes, but he gets this absolutely spot on to perfection across the goal. And there's the big garlic and herb. I said, if we're going to have a hero of the day, we want it to be Ivanovic, and he scores his 13th goal of the season, 12 in the league, one against Dagenham and Redbridge in the FA Cup. And it's dreamland. For that minute, wherever it was, 35 seconds, a minute and a half, whatever. Again, for those people that don't understand why people like me and people like that went to the game go up there, it was all worth it for that minute and a half. If you could bottle that feeling and sell it, you'd fucking be very, very rich. It's just a feeling you can't explain. And for those that have never experienced it, don't really like football, I really feel sorry for them. Or even those that do like football but watch it from the sofa every week. And I'm not knocking people that don't go to games. I understand it's difficult. But that is why, in that minute and a half, the agony and ecstasy of football, and that is why I try and get to as many games as I can. A brilliantly worked goal, made to look very simple because we executed a move very, very perfectly. And it's absolute fucking chaos in the away end. We're up. I've actually gone down. People were on top of me. Henry and Kieran were on top of me. Look round, Kenny's in an headlock from someone that he don't even know. But then we get up. We start chanting the Mihailo Ivanovic song. And within seconds, Burnley have equalised now. I did say in the full time the other day that I'll pick the bones out of it in the post-match today, Monday. I don't want to criticise because, like I've said and I've covered, it's been brilliant from the team, and I really feel we're in a strong position going forward next season. But I will have to tell you what I saw, and if I wanted to be critical, I'm not bothered. I wasn't expecting to win. We lost, and it was a brilliant day, and I got almost the most out of it that I could, obviously, other than making the playoffs. But look, as I said, you get that lead, you have to defend it. You have to game manage. You have to be switched on as professional footballers. And I understand it's headlocks. Look at us everyone's rolling around the floor in the stands. But we're not the professional footballers. We're not the ones that go, right, okay, experienced players. I'm looking to Tanganga almost now. He's had a lot of experience on our side. I'm looking to Cooper. I'm looking to Saville. Let's get structured now. Let's fucking see this out till half time, and then we've got a real big chance. But we didn't do that, and it is literally from the kickoff. I watched it back loads today, and it is literally from the kickoff. I can't say that any clearer than that. It just fucking baffles me that it's happened. Ball back from the centre circle, long diag. First instance, Jaff drifts across. Now, he doesn't need to, in my opinion. Kramer's right underneath it, and Kramer may not have won the header. I don't know. But again, I can't really blame Jaff because he's trying to be that, as I felt George Evans was in the second half, being that one that says, no, come on, fuck this. We can do this, despite the crowd, despite the atmosphere, despite what's at stake for them. Let's be the one player in this massive stadium that's going to stand up and be counted. So I think Jaff's tried to take the responsibility there, but he's drifted massively over when he didn't really need to, in my opinion, which shuffles, bear in mind again, I will say, we've just kicked off. So we've got Sturge, Cooper, Tanganga and Kramer. The long diag, he drifts, he's trying to take responsibility, he's trying to be big, he's trying to, win it for our side, but he doesn't need to be there, and he doesn't win the header. As it drops, Kramer then doesn't do enough, and now what's happening is the other back four, the other two that are left, are having to shuffle across. It then falls to Cooper, who's got to do more than kick it straight at Ashley Barnes. Literally just booted it straight and bounced off him. So that's another one out of the equation. Sturge then has to come across, and he's the only defender in that box. Then I'm going to say something that if you're a Burnley fan and you're watching this, it's going to sound salty. It's going to sound like, I was going to say raw eggs. Sour grapes. Fuck knows what raw eggs is. But anyway, but it isn't, right? Barnes goes in, and any day of the week, if that's in the Premier League, and I know we're not in the Premier League, it's not only a foul for us, it's probably a straight red card. You can't tackle in football in this day and age like that. I personally, it's happened to me and I'm gutted. I'm a Millwall fan, but I love to see that. You can't see, but tackles like that I think are great. And 10 years ago it wasn't even a foul. But Barnes goes in over the top and very high on Sturge, and not many people have pulled this up. For me, it's a straight red card, and it's a definite free kick minimum, but we haven't got VAR. It hasn't been picked up. Sturge, at the same time, potentially wasn't strong enough. But he's been absolutely flipped by Barnes' challenge, by the way. 1,000,000%, that's VAR in the Premier League. That's a red card for Ashley Barnes and obviously a free kick to us. But Sturge gets flipped like a burger. The last result maybe could have been stronger, I don't know. But he wasn't. And then it's an easy tap-in for Josh Brownhill. And as I said, the ecstasy to agony within absolute seconds is done. After that, I felt they got on top a bit and they put a lot of balls into the box. There was the one back across from the header where Coburn didn't get rid of it into the channel when he should have done, lost the ball. It comes in and the header back across. Cooper makes amends by getting in a good position and clears it off the line. That was definitely in. It was right in front of us. But then after that, I felt we sort of... People were having a little bit of a panic up, going, we got to win this game, come on, fucking Bristol City are losing. But I never felt that was going to be the plan, you know. If anything, I felt we might try to keep it 0-0 until sort of 70 minutes and then go for it. And I didn't feel that the end-to-end was going to benefit us because I wanted us to try and protect the lead that we got. And the longer it went on, the stronger the players they got, the bench they got. They got fucking James Trafford in goal. I know they don't run around a lot, he's a goalkeeper. They got a player, Henry's telling me in the stands, that's come from the Champions League. Was playing for Sporting Lisbon or someone in the Champions League. So we're never going to compete with these teams. And the longer that battle went on, toe-to-toe, fitness-wise, in an intense atmosphere on a hot day, you know, they was always going to win that physical battle through their fitness. So when it slowed down a bit, it didn't bother me as much. The only other chance they had in the first half, again, Saville fucks around with it, gets dispossessed, shot from distance, very well tipped over by George Evans. I covered him in the full time, but I'll talk about him again in the second half in a minute. And then the one that is a glaring miss is where Jaff pops it into the channel. Kramer does well. He gets beyond his player and he cuts it back. And I'm trying to think of excuses for Coburn. I can't understand what's happened. Instead of just following through with his body weight and tapping it in, he sort of checks his run. To me, in the way he checked his run, it looked as if he was expecting someone to cut that out. But there was no one there. So he must have been able to see. Maybe he's seen his name in lights. Maybe he's just took his eye off the ball. But he sort of checks his run and opens his body up for whatever reason. I don't know. It's on his weak foot, but literally just follow through. You can see it's coming from Kramer. You've made that run, so you're expecting the ball. Follow it through, stick it in the net with all your body and end up in the net as well. And we're 2-1 up, and then we're in with a fucking huge chance. But he doesn't. He sort of checks his run, and then opens up his body. And then obviously he misses. Hits the post. Glaring miss. And Henry fucking hates him, Coburn. I like Coburn. And we'll do other videos in the summer on whether he will or won't sign for Mill. Of course, the club have been vocal saying they would like to sign him. And I would like to sign him, and I've said this before in previous videos, he's not as good as he was when he turned up, and I think that's because he kept getting injured with us and previous, obviously, at his parent club, Borough. I think he's trying to manage that injury. So I think he's taken a little bit off his game. But what he did with the first goal and what he does is he does the dog work and the link play quite well. But I can't defend that. And I don't know how he's managed to miss it. And I'm sure he's gutted himself. But it is what it is. And we go in at half-time 1-1. The second half was a little bit more one-sided for them. You know, they wanted to win the league. At that point, Leeds were drawing, I think, at Plymouth. So they had every chance of winning the title. So they pressed forward, but we needed to press forward as well. And then this is where I'm going to get into sort of the second criticism. They had a couple of chances. I think Hannibal stuck one over the bar. Jayden Anthony got in down that side, and his shot was powder puff. It was a good save from Evans, done all he could. But Jayden Anthony was almost lazy with his finish and didn't put his foot through it straight at George Evans in goal. But the one for me that's done us, and it's another criticism that I have to have. I really like Alex Neil. He's been brilliant since he's come in. And again, it is what it is. If Coburn would have scored, would we have won? Probably still not. And look, it was there in our hands. Bristol City actually dropped the points for us to get in the playoffs. So lots of things to go into it. But I'm just telling you what I saw and what I know for a fact that everyone around me was saying the same thing. Kramer's been brilliant for us, but he was shot to bits in the second half. And I'm not saying he was terrible, take him off because he's shit. I'm saying he's a good player for us. He's done really well. He's come in, he's played out of position. But in that instance, his legs were either gone or he just couldn't keep tabs on Anthony. And I said to Henry during the game, I think the ball came over the top to Sturge, and he sort of went to kick it or control it, and everyone was behind it. I went, just fucking get rid of it. And Henry said to me, what's wrong with you? I said, look, I don't mind conceding, but we managed to concede silly fucking goals all the time. And I thought Sturge was going to step on the ball and fall over and the striker would have got in. We've conceded a really, really poor goal there. with that second goal, and it was coming a fucking mile off, and everyone around us was saying it. We had Ryan Leonard on the bench, and Kramer he just wasn't his day. That's unfortunate, but I feel as well as Alex Neil's done, and every time he makes substitutions, he doesn't do the Harris substitutions or the Rowett substitutions, does he? He actually changes the game plan or the personnel to suit what's going on the pitch. He didn't do that in this instance, and I don't know how he hasn't seen Alex Neil, because I could see it in the stands. Everyone around me was saying the same thing. You have got to get Kramer off, or we are going to concede, and it's exactly what happened. And it's a piss poor goal, and I'm not angry. All right, I'm just explaining what I saw. But you can't concede goals like that. It's a free kick. It's one ball. Straight over. Kramer gets caught underneath it. Over his head. Jaden Anthony's in behind. And this time he makes amends. He doesn't fuck around and powder puff it to George Evans. He's got plenty of goals to aim at. And he slots it in the corner. And that pretty much then is game over. They kept coming, Burnley. And again, another really poor goal we nearly conceded. It's direct from a throw on. Somehow it goes over everyone's head. Ashley Barnes, I think, cuts it back. A shot is blocked. I think it comes off Kramer or someone and then flies in the other direction, and George Evans somehow gets off the floor. I don't know how he saved it, and makes a really good save. Fair play to the young goalkeeper. And on the subject of him, you know, a lot of you didn't want him in the side. A lot of people moaned when he let 4 in at Blackburn. I personally didn't think he did anything wrong at Blackburn. He didn't have a lot to do at home to Norwich. He did really well at home to Borough, and even better at home to Swansea. Then, you know, obviously for me there, on Saturday, back-to-back man of the match awards. Now, I know he's not the biggest, I know he's young, but for me now that's an opportunity. Today is the anniversary of us winning the league in 2001, and that came about through the club going into liquidation and the youngsters having to be played. Now, we've had to play George Evans in this instance. Now, if I'm George Evans, I'm knocking on the door. You've got to be confident. He looks quite a nervous kid at the end when they was all clapping him, singing his song, and the players were going, go on. He was a bit like, oh, thanks. George Evans now, for me, needs to knock on the gaffer's door and go, right, what's the crack? You brought me in. That's what I've fucking done. Jensen's injured until Christmas. Am I going to get a crack at this? Because what's likely to happen now is George Evans is going to go back into the youth team. You'll never see him again and end up on loan at fucking Maidstone or somewhere. For me, he's done enough to warrant to say, okay, I'm involved next season. Gaffer, what's the crack? But we'll wait and see on that one. Back to the game. We did try and have a little go, but Casper had to go off. That must have been an injury. And we had to have a reshuffle. And again, I think our strength in depth that we should have had for all our signings in January didn't happen because it wasn't there, because we looked a bit light. And again, it's comparisons between our squad and theirs and the people down on the bench to bring on. But we had a little go. Cooper had a really good effort. There was actually offside or a foul in there somewhere for a change. James Trafford makes a good save, and Aziz tested him as well from wide. And we pushed, but it wasn't to be. And then comment on my full-time reaction video that's currently running at 17,000 views. We've upset a lot of people, by the way. Because the game's going on and I'm ready to do the full-time reaction. I hear something behind me and I've clocked, Leeds have scored. Now, for those fans saying in the comments, why are you celebrating a Leeds goal? Again, maybe you don't go to many football games, but we're here, Burnley fans are here, we're going at it all game, they're giving it, we're giving it. It's brilliant, that's football. You know, they're entitled to give it, we're entitled to give it. Now, if we was away at Leeds at the last game of the season, you know, and Burnley had scored somewhere else to win the title, we'd be giving it to the Leeds fans. It's just a little bit of one-upmanship. Of course, we're not celebrating a Leeds goal, but it really did put a dampener on Burnley's day. In my opinion, it was visually obvious to look at some of their fans that were gutted that they haven't won the title. They haven't bought the stage out at the end of the game. They haven't been presented with a trophy. They're still going up, yes. And yes, they probably will come straight back down again. But fair play to them. They was promoted. They get a third goal as that's all going on as well while the full-time reaction's being filmed. A free kick that I think you could probably put down to George Evans. But listen, he done all he could to keep us in the game for as long as he could. And things and circumstances at the other end of the pitch, in my opinion, led to that. I'm not going to pick the young keeper up for that, but he lines his wall up again if I've got to analyse it. He puts his wall up. I thought it went through the wall. I've just watched it back a few times. It doesn't. It goes to the right of the wall, which means, one, he hasn't lined his wall up correctly. Two, he's not in the right position. It goes pretty much where he was standing. I'm not sure if he gets a nick off the wall, but look, 3-1, not blaming Evans at all. It is what it is, and the game is over. We don't make the playoffs, but really, really pleased, really proud of the players and the team, and hopeful and confident for next season that we can build on that, because going back to the players we have signed in January, fucking hardly any of them have played. AJ Matthews doing well in the 21s. Lovelace has not kicked a ball. Benicio Baker's not kicked a ball. Nesley's hardly kicked a ball, amongst others. So if we can get a couple of recruits in and keep the momentum building, I really feel, if you look probably from when Alex Neil come in, I don't know it, the league table. Maybe someone can help me out in the comments. But if you look at that from when he came in to where, if the season started then, I think we'd be right up there. And I'll say, I think we really, really showed that we're capable of competing with any team in this division. It didn't feel like a 3-1 game, in my opinion. I thought it was a really even, fair, open game and a really good atmosphere. And it was a great day. And do you know what? I'd fucking do it all again tomorrow. But unfortunately, the curtain is drawn and the season is over. There's going to be loads of content coming out throughout the summer. I've got Lions Lounges coming out my arse lined up. There are going to be some Mill history videos. Still going to do like a squad retention list when that comes out. Players going, players coming in. There's been a big clue on a few people's Instagrams over the last day or so who's going to be heading out the door. So that'll all be covered. I'll try and keep as much content coming as possible. I want to wrap the show by saying a get well soon to Dave Harrison. He's a Millwall fan. He's not been too well at all. I'm actually friends with his daughter and his son. I've known him for years. I see George sometimes down at the Den, and you've not been too well, Dave. You're, as I said, a Millwall fan and you watch the show. So get well soon, mate. Wish you all the best from myself and everyone at Lions TV, and I'm sure that everyone watching wishes Dave all the best as well. Please subscribe to Lions TV. Come on, you Lions.